The origin of Luffy and the Monkey D family might be much deeper than anyone could have ever imagined. Recent theories have emerged that, if true, could shake up the entirety of One Piece. Today we're going to dive deep into the history of the Monkey family and try to uncover the truth. First, I want to say that I'm not claiming to have created this theory myself. This video is like a collection of a bunch of different TikToks, Reddit posts, and other videos that I've seen, as well as my own takes on the theory. So, to get started, the theory is that the Monkey D family are from Shandora, and there's a disturbing amount of evidence and connections that could prove this to be true. By the end of this video, I want you to let me know in the comments if this theory is cope or legit. So the base layer of the theory is that the Monkey D family are actually Shandorians. And to start off, we're going to look at some of the connections between Dragon and Calgara. If you don't remember Calgara, he was like the main guy of Shandora. He was friends with Noland, and then the whole knock-up stream happened. They got separated, all that type of stuff. It seems like these backstories with the Skypians are hiding a lot more than we originally thought. The first thing I want to show you is a comparison between an image from that backstory and Dragon. Take a look at this. That looks oddly familiar or similar to Dragon's tattoo. The pattern on that tapestry and Dragon's face are pretty much the same. They are very, very close. Of course, this could just be coincidence, or it could be genius by Oda. We don't know. I'm going to show you a lot of other stuff similar to this, and at first it does sound like copium, but as we get further into this video, the evidence becomes clearer and clearer. We're starting out with some of the minute stuff. So here's another comparison of the markings on Dragon's face with the markings on Nola. This one isn't really as similar, but you can definitely see that the markings are like kind of the same. This one's a stretch, I'll say that, but make it out for what it is. I don't know if I agree with this one as much, but I do like the comparison of Dragon and Nola, because Dragon is called the Insurgent Serpent. That name connects him to snakes, and there's only two places where snakes become a big part of the plot. First in Skypiea with Nola, the big snake, and then second Amazon Lily with the Kuja pirates. Boa Hancock and her sisters have a lot of snakes or have snake devil fruit powers. Those are the only two times we see snakes. And in Shandorian history, snakes are very prominent. As we saw, they view them as gods. So Dragon having a nickname that connects him with snakes, when snakes are very important to Shandora? Hey, I don't know, you tell me. Another thing with the tattoo is that a lot of other Shandorians have tattoos all across their face and body. So Dragon's tattoo could be a tribute to his Shandorian heritage. And now that I think about it, we haven't really seen much of his body, at least from the elbows up. Like all of this, we haven't seen. He could have tattoos all across his body like many of the Shandorians in Skypiea had. Here's an image of Calgara's leg and Dragon's leg. Both of them have like X's on them. This is a TikTok that I saw. I don't know about this one. This is a really big reach, but it's another connection. I just figured I would add it into the video. But possibly the biggest connection with Dragon and Calgara is their voice actor. Hidekatsu Shibata, I may have butchered that, but he voices Dragon in the Japanese sub. He's 87 years old and only voices one other character besides Dragon, Calgara. Another big coincidence or another subtle hint? Dragon is a man we've seen very little from, but the little we have seen, he does have a lot of similarities to Wiper and a lot of the other Shandorians. These all might be completely wrong, but it's enough to make you start wondering. And if you're not convinced, I don't blame you. This is just the first piece of the puzzle. We are currently barely scratching the surface of how deep this theory goes. So that was the things between Dragon and Calgara and some of the Shandorian heritage. But next up, I want to show an image of the Golden Bell. And a lot of people don't know this, but Oda's original plan was to end One Piece within 5 years. And Oda realized pretty quickly that it was going to take a lot longer than 5 years to finish One Piece, but the fact still remains that a lot of the information we need to know would have been here by Skypiea. So history about One Piece, maybe the Void Century, and like I said, the Golden Bell. This was the main thing in the City of Gold. And what is that on top of it? Multiple monkeys wearing straw hats. There's nothing else you can really make that out to be. That is monkeys wearing straw hats. The monkey family, Straw Hat Luffy, this is looking a little weird. Why else would that be there? That tells us a lot of stuff. That tells us that the Monkey D family are Shandorians, but that may also tell us that Joy Boy and the original Sun God are also Shandorian heritage, because as we know, the Straw Hat has been a sign of Joy Boy for generations. So if it's here in the City of Gold in Shandora from this long ago, maybe that explains the origin of Joy Boy. I am skeptical of this because it's such a tiny detail. How do you even think of it? As like, Oda blows my mind with some of his foreshadowing because it's purposely put there, but how do you even think of doing it at the time? I cannot be a writer, or at least at this level of a writer, because this is crazy. So continuing with connections and the Monkey D family, we have Garp. At the beginning of One Piece, Garp is very often shown wearing a dog or animal hat on his head. In chapter 104, the cover is him with the hat on. Who else wears animal hats? The only people in One Piece? The Shandorian chiefs. And like I just said, all of One Piece was kind of planned out within the first 5 years. If there was going to be a connection between the Monkey family and the Shandorians, there's a little connection right there. Going back to the Skypiea flashbacks with Calgara, we see Calgara fight off a ship using a ball and a chain. A huge cannonball and a chain. The first time we see Garp use an attack, what does he use? A ball and a chain. Too many coincidences here, man. I know it doesn't prove anything at all, but why are there so many similarities? Like, no one else uses a ball and chain to attack. No one else is wearing animal hats. Those are the only couple major things connecting Garp to the Shandorians. But let's go ahead and move on to Monkey D. Luffy, the main guy. First up, I want to talk about Luffy's clone, Seto. This is Calgara's son-in-law. Luffy has always been a unique character. There has hardly ever been anyone who looks like him. Actually, there never has been, except for Seto. Like I said, Seto was Calgara's son-in-law, so that means he married his daughter Moose. It's very possible Seto and Moose had a child, and during the knock-up stream that sent Shandora skyrocketing into the air, their child could have been left behind. And then after all of these years of mating with normal people without wings, because you'd be like, okay, why doesn't Luffy have wings on him then? Or the rest of the monkey family? That's because this child grew up, was mating, and, you know, reproducing with people without wings, and they just went away over time. Remember the house that Cricket lived in that was split in half? Maybe that was Moose and Seto's house that got split. It sent both of them up into the sky, but not their child. So this could very much explain Luffy's lineage and why they wouldn't have been up on Skypiea to begin with. And then you have the fact that Luffy's devil fruit isn't actually the Gum Gum fruit and is instead the Sun God. Where do we first hear about the Sun God? From Calgara's daughter Moose. Before she was sacrificed, she tells her mom that she's going to meet the Sun God. Weird coincidence that Moose was supposed to be sacrificed to Nola, and then Luffy is the one that actually gets eaten by Nola in Skypiea several hundred years later. Moose doesn't only mention the Sun God, everyone knows she mentions a bunch of other gods like the Rain God, Forest God, and Earth God. Oh man, if this theory turns out to be true, I'm going to die laughing, because for so long, people said that Skypiea was boring and that it added nothing to the story, when in fact, it might have some of the most important details of One Piece hidden inside of it. Skypiea has been gaining importance with every new arc since it came out. Like a couple years ago, there was legitimately people saying, you can skip Skypiea, it adds nothing, just skip it. If this proves one thing, it just proves to never doubt Oda, because that man is always cooking. Now for possibly the most bona fide piece of evidence that we have of this theory, goes back to that golden bell. Mont Blanc Cricket, descendant of Noland, wanted to hear that bell. And Wiper says in Skypiea that only a descendant of Calgara can ring the bell. And who rung it? Luffy. That right there is not a sentence that Oda will just accidentally put into the story. That was purposefully said, and it was purposefully rung by Luffy as a sign. If there's one thing that can prove this theory, everything else I said can be nonsense. But if there's one thing that proves it, I think it's that right there. Wiper saying that a descendant of Calgara has to ring the bell, and then Luffy is the one that rings the bell. That would connect everything we thought of with Seto and Moose and their child being left behind. That child ended up being Luffy's great-great-grandpa or something like that. I think that is the best piece of evidence we have so far, but there's more. Continuing with connections to Luffy, we have Volume 27. Where Luffy is pictured in front of Enel's priest with Shandia wings on his back, winking at the reader. This isn't the only time Luffy is pictured as a Shandorian. Here are some color spreads from chapter 175, chapter 352, and chapter 431. No one else in these color spreads is drawn this way. From what I see of the community in these comments and all these posts and stuff, is that it's like bro spoiling at this point, saying that the theory is true. It's absolutely true. And then you have other ones like, bro ate the theory, no me, or bro's coping so hard. So the opinions seem very mixed. It's either they absolutely believe the theory or they absolutely do not believe the theory. So you have all this, and then more theories start to build on top. Crocodile's name starts to get thrown around in some of these. People have started to say that Crocodile, we don't know his first or last name. Crocodile might be his last name, but his first name might be Monkey D. Crocodile. Crocodile also has gold on his hand like Luffy did when Luffy rung the bell. All these little connections people are making with Crocodile. Not Croco Mom, I do want to say that. And it dives down a whole nother rabbit hole, but people think Crocodile is a secret Monkey D family member. That's all I'm going to say so far, because it does get a lot deeper and we'll be here all day. More connections to Luffy is that his real world origin is Brazil, where you have Mayan and Aztec cultures similar to Shandora. My final thing I want to add to this video is my personal theory that if Luffy is Shandorian, if this comes out to be true, I think the 10th and final Straw Hat crew member will then be a Skypian, or a member of the sky. Uruge. I said it last video, it's almost working out this way. We haven't seen him since the time skip, pretty much just that one time against General Snack and Cracker. But if Luffy turns out to be a Shandorian and Uruge shows up, I think he might join the crew. Let me know what you think of this theory in the comments. It gets a lot deeper. There's more connections out there that people are finding every day. I'm starting to believe it, but like I said, there really is no solid proof yet.